The first time I became afraid of Darius, I had never seen him. I had never heard his voice. I didn't even know where he was. And perhaps that was exactly the problem. A year earlier, everything had seemed simple. Cross the sea, beat the Persians, take their cities, win glory, go home. That was the plan. Most plans survive only until reality arrives. We had won battles, taken cities, crossed mountains, marched through lands I had never imagined. The empire kept retreating. Alexander kept advancing. And after a while, success becomes dangerous. Because success convinces you that success is normal. Alexander was changing. Not dramatically, not all at once, but enough for those who knew him. He spoke more often of Achilles, more often of destiny, more often of what future generations would remember. One evening around a campfire, a veteran beside me muttered, "The gods protect him too much." I laughed. The veteran didn't. We reached Tarsus during the heat of summer. The water looked inviting, cold, clear, perfect. Alexander thought so too. He jumped into the river. A terrible idea. The water was freezing. Within hours, he became dangerously ill. Very ill. Rumors spread through camp faster than disease. Some said poison. Others said exhaustion. Others whispered that the gods had finally demanded payment. For several days, we didn't know whether our king would live. The army felt different, smaller somehow, as if all our confidence had been borrowed from one man. Then Alexander recovered. Of course he did. At least that is how it felt. As if death had simply changed its mind. A physician gave him medicine. The king survived. The campaign continued. And soon we were marching south. Toward Darius. Or so we believed. Every night, new stories arrived. Darius had 100,000 men. 200,000, 500,000, 1,000,000. Every messenger increased the number. One day I joked, "At this rate, the Persians will soon outnumber the stars." Nobody laughed, because beneath the exaggeration was a truth. The great king was coming. And unlike the satraps we had faced before, he commanded the empire itself. We entered a narrow pass between mountains and sea. Beautiful country. Dangerous country. The kind of place where a few men could stop thousands. Alexander seemed pleased. The veterans seemed worried. One officer studied the landscape and said, "If Darius is smart, he'll never fight here." At the time, that sounded reassuring. Later, I understood it wasn't. For weeks, we believed we were hunting Darius. Every march brought us closer. Every report placed him somewhere ahead, somewhere east, somewhere beyond the next mountain, the next river, the next city. Always ahead, never here, never now, always tomorrow. One night, I sat beside a fire with several companions. We talked about the coming battle. One man spoke of glory. Another spoke of promotion. A third spoke of Persian treasure. Then an older officer asked a question. A simple question. The sort that ruins conversations. What if Darius is better than the others? Nobody answered. Because nobody wanted to. The next afternoon, a rider arrived. Covered in dust, breathing hard. His horse looked ready to collapse. He spoke with the officers. Immediately. Urgently. Then word spread. Slowly at first. Then rapidly. The Persians had been seen. Behind us. We all laughed. Behind us? Impossible. The rider must have been mistaken. Everyone knew Darius was ahead. Everyone. Then a second rider arrived. This one looked worse. More exhausted. More frightened. The laughter disappeared. The officers stopped smiling. Maps appeared. Arguments followed. The sort of arguments that happen when nobody likes the answer. Then came a third rider. By then, nobody was laughing. Nobody was speaking. The news was confirmed. Darius was not ahead of us. Darius was behind us. The great king had crossed into our rear, captured Issus, taken Macedonians left in hospitals, and now stood between us and part of our supply line. For a long moment, nobody moved. I remember looking around camp, men staring at one another, trying to understand, trying to make sense of it. The hunter had become the hunted. Then something remarkable happened. Alexander smiled. Not a wide smile, not a joyful smile, a dangerous smile. The kind a man wears when he has finally found what he was looking for. One of the officers later said,
"We had spent months searching for Darius. Darius solved the problem for us."
The army turned around, immediately. North. Fast. Faster than I thought possible. The roads filled with soldiers, horsemen, messengers, supplies, everyone moving in the same direction, toward Issus, toward Darius, towards something none of us could yet imagine. That evening I barely slept. Neither did most men. Some prayed, some sharpened weapons, some stared into the darkness, trying to see the future. I thought about Granicus, about Thebes, about Philip, about the sea, about everything that had brought us here. And for the first time since crossing into Asia, I felt doubt. Not panic, not fear, doubt. The Persians were no longer a distant empire. Darius was no longer a distant king. Tomorrow, he would be real. Just before dawn, I climbed a small ridge. The sky was still dark, the air cool, the world silent. Then I saw them, far away, thousands of campfires stretching across the plain, more than I had ever seen in my life. The army of the great king. I stood there for a long time, watching, listening, thinking. For months we had spoken about Darius, imagined him, mocked him, hunted him. Now he was here, and suddenly none of the stories mattered, because tomorrow, for the first time, Alexander and Darius would stand on the same battlefield, and somewhere among those fires, a king was preparing for victory. A king was preparing for history. A king was preparing to destroy us. At least, that is what he believed.